Liam was a young black boy, only 10 years old, traveling alone for the first time to visit his aunt. His parents had arranged everything to make sure he'd be safe, even getting special permission for him to fly alone. Liam was excited but a bit nervous. He hugged his parents goodbye and promised to call as soon as he landed. The airport staff guided him to his seat and told him everything would be fine. When he boarded, Liam tried to be as polite as he could. He even greeted the air hostess, Lucy, with a big smile. But Lucy barely looked at him and didn't respond. She seemed annoyed for no reason, glancing at Liam as if he didn't belong there. Liam felt confused but told himself to focus on the fun he'd have when he saw his aunt. Liam settled into his seat, happy to have a window view. He looked out at the other planes and the runway, feeling his excitement grow. He started imagining all the things he'd do with his aunt, who he hadn't seen in a long time. Liam's heart raced with happiness, and he couldn't wait for the plane to take off. Meanwhile, Lucy walked past him several times, watching him from the corner of her eye. She thought Liam looked out of place, sitting by himself in the nice part of the plane. Lucy believed he might be causing trouble and decided to keep an eye on him. She whispered to another flight attendant, sharing her suspicions even though Liam was just sitting quietly. The plane took off, and Liam looked out the window in awe as they rose above the clouds. He'd never seen anything like it before, and he wanted to remember every moment. He started drawing in his notebook, sketching what he saw from the window. He was lost in his little world, enjoying his first flight experience. Lucy saw him drawing and assumed he was messing around or not following the rules. She frowned, thinking he might be a distraction. Lucy didn't bother to ask him what he was doing. She just assumed he was up to no good. Her mind was set on watching him closely, convinced he'd eventually do something wrong. After a while, Liam felt thirsty. He saw other passengers pressing the button to call the flight attendant, so he tried it too. He waited patiently, hoping someone would come. A few minutes later, Lucy came over, her face showing irritation. "What do you want?" she asked sharply. Liam, feeling a bit nervous, asked softly for some water. Lucy rolled her eyes and walked away without saying a word. Liam felt a little hurt by her tone but decided to brush it off. He reminded himself that he'd soon be with his aunt, and that made him smile again. He continued to look out the window, hoping to see something interesting as they flew higher. Lucy returned with a small cup of water, practically tossing it onto his tray without looking at him. Liam thanked her, but she didn't respond. Instead, she walked away quickly, her face looking annoyed. Liam sipped his water quietly, feeling a bit uncomfortable. He wondered why she seemed so angry at him. A few passengers nearby noticed how rudely Lucy had acted toward Liam. They whispered to each other, wondering why she seemed to dislike him so much. Some felt sorry for the young boy, while others gave him small, encouraging smiles to make him feel better. Liam smiled back shyly, grateful for their kindness. After drinking his water, Liam decided to take out his book. He loved reading, and his mom had packed one of his favorite stories for him to enjoy on the flight. He curled up in his seat and started reading, hoping the time would pass quickly. He was getting more excited with each minute that brought him closer to his aunt. But Lucy kept watching him, thinking he was acting too comfortable for a young boy traveling alone. She thought he might be bothering other passengers, even though he was sitting quietly. Lucy's thoughts were clouded by her prejudice, and she didn't realize that Liam was behaving perfectly well. A little while later, Lucy noticed Liam looking around, trying to find a flight attendant. He wanted to ask how much longer the flight would be. Lucy assumed he was causing trouble again and decided to confront him. She walked up to him with an annoyed look and told him to sit still. Liam, surprised by her tone, explained that he just wanted to know when they would arrive. But Lucy didn't listen. She simply told him to stop asking questions and to stay quiet. Liam felt embarrassed as some passengers turned to watch, but he didn't want to make any trouble, so he just nodded and went back to his seat. As the flight continued, Liam needed to use the restroom. He waited until he saw an empty line and walked to the back of the plane quietly. He didn't want to bother anyone and tried to be polite to other passengers. When he reached the restroom, he waited his turn like everyone else. Lucy saw Liam standing in line and thought he was wandering around the plane for no reason. She felt frustrated, convinced he was breaking the rules. She marched up to him, her face full of anger, and told him he wasn't allowed to move around without permission. Liam tried to explain, but she didn't listen. Lucy decided that Liam needed to be taught a lesson. She grabbed his arm and told him he'd have to leave the plane once they landed. Liam's eyes widened with fear and sadness. He didn't understand what he had done wrong and felt helpless. He wanted to call his parents, but Lucy wouldn't let him. Nearby passengers noticed what was happening, and some started to whisper. They didn't understand why Lucy was being so harsh with a young boy who seemed to be polite and respectful. A few people shook their heads, feeling that Lucy's actions were unfair. Liam looked down, trying to hold back tears. As the plane landed, Lucy informed the airline staff on the ground that Liam would be escorted off the plane. Liam felt nervous and scared. He had never been in trouble before, and now he was being kicked off the plane. He didn't know how he would contact his aunt or find his way to her home. The passengers were shocked to see Lucy treating Liam so poorly. They felt bad for him and even offered to help. One kind lady gave him a piece of candy to cheer him up, but Liam felt too sad to smile. He didn't understand why he was being treated this way and just wanted to see his family. As Liam was escorted off the plane, an airline supervisor noticed how upset he looked. The supervisor, Mr. Adams, gently asked Liam what had happened. Liam explained everything in his soft voice, telling Mr. Adams how he had tried to follow all the rules but still felt like he'd done something wrong. Mr. Adams listened carefully and became very concerned. He realized that something unfair had happened to Liam. Mr. Adams decided to talk to Lucy to understand why she had treated the young boy so harshly. He wanted to make sure Liam was treated with respect and kindness, as he deserved. Mr. Adams approached Lucy, asking her to explain her actions. Lucy tried to defend herself, saying that Liam was being disruptive. But Mr. Adams didn't accept her excuse. He had seen Liam's polite behavior and knew he wasn't causing any trouble. He told Lucy that her behavior was unacceptable and that she had misjudged the young boy. Lucy started to feel embarrassed as Mr. Adams pointed out her mistakes. She realized that her actions had been unfair and unkind. She had allowed her own prejudice to cloud her judgment and had treated Liam poorly without reason. Lucy felt a pang of guilt for making an innocent child feel unwelcome. Mr. Adams apologized to Liam on behalf of the airline. He told him that he would personally make sure he got safely to his aunt's home. Liam felt relieved and thanked Mr. Adams for his kindness. Even though he was still a little sad, he felt better knowing that someone was on his side. Other passengers came over to comfort Liam as well. They told him how brave he was and promised that he would have a wonderful time with his aunt. Liam smiled and thanked everyone for their support. He realized that there were still kind people around him, even if one person had treated him badly. As Mr. Adams arranged for Liam's safe transport, he also spoke to Lucy once more. He told her that her behavior had consequences and that the airline would investigate her actions further. Lucy felt a deep shame, realizing that she might lose her job because of her unfair treatment of Liam. Lucy went to Liam and offered a quiet apology. She didn't know if he would forgive her, but she wanted to show that she was sorry. Liam accepted her apology with a nod, though he still felt hurt. He appreciated that she had said sorry but wished she hadn't been so unkind in the first place. Mr. Adams stayed with Liam until his aunt arrived to pick him up. When she saw her nephew, she hugged him tightly, relieved to know he was safe. Liam explained everything that had happened, and his aunt thanked Mr. Adams for taking care of him. She was grateful that someone had been there for her nephew when he needed help. Liam felt happy to be reunited with his aunt and knew he would be safe now. He promised Mr. Adams that he'd remember his kindness and would try to stay brave. Mr. Adams smiled and wished Liam a wonderful visit with his aunt. He felt good knowing he had made a difference in the young boy's life. As they waved goodbye, Liam felt a sense of relief wash over him. He knew that, even though one person had treated him unfairly, many others had shown kindness and support. Once they were outside the airport, Liam and his aunt talked excitedly about what they would do during his visit. His aunt promised to take him to the park, the zoo, and even to a movie. Liam felt grateful to be with her and forgot all about the trouble he had faced on the plane. He was ready for a fun adventure. Back at the airline, Lucy was called into a meeting with her supervisor and other staff members. They talked about her actions and how they affected Liam. Lucy felt nervous as she sat in the meeting, realizing that her behavior could lead to serious consequences. She listened as they explained the importance of treating all passengers with respect, regardless of their age or appearance. Lucy knew she had a lot to learn. She had let her assumptions cloud her judgment and hurt an innocent boy. As she listened to her supervisor, she realized that she needed to change her attitude and work on being more understanding. She didn't want to be that person again, and she hoped she could earn back the trust of her colleagues. After the meeting, Lucy felt heavy-hearted. She understood that her actions could have ruined Liam's trip and made him feel unwelcome. She decided to write a letter to Liam, apologizing again for how she had treated him. She wanted him to know that not all air hostesses were like her and that he deserved kindness and respect. With each word she wrote, Lucy felt a little lighter. She knew it wouldn't fix everything, but it was a step toward making amends. She hoped that Liam could forgive her and that she could show him and others that she was truly sorry for her actions. She sealed the letter and handed it to her supervisor to send to Liam's family. Liam enjoyed his time with his aunt, and they did everything they had planned. They laughed, played games, and made many wonderful memories. But Liam often thought about what happened on the plane. He told his aunt about the letter he had received, and she encouraged him to always stand up for himself and be proud of who he was. One evening, while watching a movie together, Liam realized that he had learned an important lesson. Even though some people might treat him unfairly, he could choose how to respond. He decided that he would always be kind, no matter what others did. His aunt hugged him tightly, proud of how much he had grown during his trip. Back at the airline, Lucy was working hard to improve herself. She took courses on diversity and inclusion and spent time talking to colleagues about their experiences. Lucy learned about the different backgrounds and cultures of passengers. She started to understand how her past actions had affected people and how important it was to be kind to everyone. As time passed, Lucy became a better air hostess. She even volunteered to help with training new employees on how to treat all passengers with respect. She shared her story, hoping to prevent others from making the same mistakes she had. Lucy realized that change was possible, and she wanted to inspire others to be better too. Months later, Liam received a surprise letter from Lucy. She wrote about her journey to change and how she was working hard to be more understanding. She expressed her sincere apology once again and thanked him for being brave. Liam was touched by her words. He could see that Lucy was trying to be a better person. Liam felt proud of himself for not letting one bad experience ruin his trip. He had learned about kindness, forgiveness, and the importance of standing up for himself. With a smile, he wrote back to Lucy, telling her that he accepted her apology and was happy to hear about her progress. They both learned valuable lessons that day, one about kindness and the other about the power of change.